好，我们今天继续学习第11课中国的节日对话5，是在我们课本上的第4页 p.4 at the bottom of p.4 and to the upper part of p.6。我们今天还要介绍一些其他别的中国节日。好，克林说，中国还有好几个传统节日。节日 we know festival， 传统 traditional festival。几个 it can mean how many, for example 几个人 but here in this context it has another meaning, means several. China also has several traditional festivals. But why there's 好 here? We know 好 is adjective means good. But here, 好 function as an adverb to emphasize there's a lot, there's many. 好几个 quite a few traditional festivals 好几个. Or another example for 好 is, for example, if you want to say, I have learned Chinese for quite a few years. 我学中文学了好几年not just several years, but quite a few years 好几年. So that's the meaning of 好 here. Okay, next sentence. 吃的东西都不一样. The food are all different for each festival. The food are all different. 对吧? The difference between 对吗 and 对吧 are different. If it is 对吗, which means that you don't know the answer. You don't have that knowledge in your brain. You want to know, is it right? 对吗? However, 对吧 the nuance is different. 对吧 means you are quite pretty sure, you kind of know the answer, and you are quite confident and pretty sure that is correct. But you just need the confirmation from the listener. Then you say 对吧 means I think it is correct, right? 对吧 So it's different from 对吗 And 舅妈 answer 对农历5月初5端午节吃粽子 First, 农历 is a traditional Chinese lunar calendar. So if you see Chinese people's calendar, you will see two different kinds of numbers. So first, these numbers, the big numbers are the same as American's calendar. However, you will also see some Chinese characters, although they are also numbers. These are 农历, the traditional Chinese lunar calendar. And we use these Chinese characters to know when is Spring Festival, when is the other festivals, and when is the first day of the first month, so these Chinese characters provide these information. 农历5月初5 Why there's a 初 here? 初 means the first or the early part. Okay, we take the January of 2023 as example. You will see 春节 here. January 22nd is 春节, which means the first day of the first month in Chinese lunar calendar year, which is 初一, the first day, 初一. And then the second day, you will see the characters here, 初二, and then you will see 初三, 初四, 初五, 初六, 初七, and there's no 初八 because there's another some special day here. The next is 初九, 初十. So for the first 10 days, they're also beginning with 初 because 初 means the early part. But after 初, it becomes 11. Then we don't have to say 初. We'll just say go back if you see the number 2 here. They just say 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 because it's not the early part, so we don't have to say 初. So 初 means early part. Another example is if you talk about middle school and high school. In China, from the grade 7th grade to 9th grade, we call it 初中, or literally means junior middle school. And for the 10th grade to 12th grade, it is 高中, I mean senior middle school or high school. But here you can see that they're all middle school, but 初 is the early part of middle school, junior middle school, is 初中。好 ，next we'll talk a little bit more about 端午节端午节 it is the 5th day of the 5th month of the lunar calendar a year. So if we see the calendar in 2023, June, okay, now we can see 初二、初三、初四. However, for 初五, they don't say 初五, they replace the name of the festival, which is 端午节端午节 in 2023. It is on June 22nd, 端午节. But when we translate into English, it is a Dragon Boat Festival. It's usually in June, according to the popular legend. The holiday started as a commemoration of the famous poet Qu Yuan. So here is a picture of Qu Yuan, who was born in 340 BCE and died in 278 BCE. And Qu Yuan drowned himself in the Miluo River, Miluo Jiang. Devastated to learn the fate of this revered figure, people rush out in boats to recover Qu Yuan's body. Some even throw 粽子, 粽子, the food for the dragon festival, 粽子, which is a glutinous rice dumplings wrapped in bamboo leaves. They throw 粽子 into the water to prevent fish from feeding on his body. And to commemorate Qu Yuan every year, boat races, the dragon boat races. I think you already seen that in Milwaukee. I think in September in Milwaukee there are dragon boat races. So each dragon-shaped boat features a drummer to keep the rowers in sync. They just boom, 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 and the rowers just row the boat. They have the competition, and people also eat 粽子 during the holiday. Okay, what does 粽子 look like? Let's see. So there are different kinds of 粽子. The two pictures on the left is a typical 粽子 in the northern China. Basically, they taste sweet because here they have red bean paste in it, or jujube or dates in it, or sometimes decorated with peanuts. And when I was little, I also dip with the sugar to eat. So basically, the taste of 粽子 in northern China is sweet. However, 粽子 in southern China is quite different. The taste is more salty. And they have meat or sometimes ham in it. And also, you can see they have mushroom, chestnut, peanut, and egg yolk, salted duck egg yolk in it. Actually, I also like the egg yolk 粽子 as well. It is quite delicious that actually people not just eat the 粽子 during the 端午节. People also can eat 粽子 in a typical day. For example, breakfast. So 粽子 is quite delicious. Okay, next we move on to introduce another festival. Okay, next. 舅舅 so on textbook page 6, 舅舅 said 8月15中秋节. But 8月15 is also in the lunar calendar year. So here, if we see the September calendar in the year 2023, we will find here 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. They replace 中秋节 here. 中秋节 is 8月15. The 15th day of the 8th month of the lunar calendar year, which falls in September or early October, marks the Mid-Autumn Festival, 中秋节. It is a day for family reunion. Well, compared with 春节, 春节 is the most important, the biggest. 中秋节, because it is in September, if you lived in the city that live in the same city with your parents and grandparents, of course, that you can go to get a family reunion with your families. However, In September, we basically don't have holidays for that, especially for students and workers. So if you lived in a different city with your parents who is far away from you, then maybe you don't have the chance to reunite with your family. But this festival's purpose is to reunite with the families, and which is symbolized by the full moon. 15 in lunar calendar is the full moon day. While admiring the fullness of the bright moon, people also enjoy 月饼 moon cakes, which come in many regional styles. We'll talk about this later in the next slide. They're usually baked with sweet filling, including nuts or preserved fruit, or even with salted duck egg yolks. In Suzhou and Shanghai, Suzhou is a city close to Shanghai. In that area, fresh and hot mooncakes with minced pork are also very popular. Okay, now we'll introduce the legend of 中秋节. In the ancient past, there was a hero named Hou Yi, who was excellent at archery. His wife was Chang'e. One day, the 10 suns rose in the sky together, causing great disaster to the people. And Hou Yi shot down 9 of the suns and left only one to provide light. An immortal admired Yi and sent him the elixir of immortality. Yi didn't want to leave Chang'e, his wife, and be immortal without her, so he let Chang'e keep the elixir. However, a bad man, Peng Meng, one of his apprentices, knew this secret. So on the 15th of August, 15th of actually the 8th month in the Chinese lunar calendar year, when Hou Yi went hunting, Peng Meng broke into Hou Yi's house and forced Chang'e to give the elixir to him. Chang'e refused to do so. Instead, she swallowed it and flew into the sky. Since she loved her husband and hoped to live nearby, she chose the moon for her residence, because moon is very close to Earth. When Yi came back and learned what had happened, he felt so sad that he displayed the fruits and cakes Chang'e liked in the yard and gave sacrifice to his wife. People soon learned about these activities, and since they also were sympathetic to Chang'e, they participated in these sacrifices with Yi. So, 中秋节的时候，人们不光吃月饼 they also eat fruits. Of course, in autumn, there's all different kinds of fruits, especially like grapes, pomelo. Some round fruit is quite popular in 中秋节. Okay, next we talk about 月饼. There are also different kinds of 月饼. If you see the top two, these are the typical 月饼. When I was a kid, I eat. This one is 5 nuts, mooncakes. These are different nuts in it. And this one is also mixed with nuts. But then that one is a nightmare. They have some like typical the green color and red color mixed with nuts. When I was little, I really hate that taste. But I do some research. That is actually tangerine peels, the color in green and red, to stimulate people's appetite to eat. But I really don't like that type of 月饼. And on the right, there are 2 different kinds of 月饼, which is from Beijing, Beijing's 月饼, but they are all round. And for the bottom, these 2 mooncakes, they are from southern part. This one's quite popular is in Guangdong and also in Hong Kong. The inside is the salted egg yolk, and the other part here, let me see. Here, this part is lotus seeds paste. It's quite delicious because it is a little bit salt and a little bit sweet. This is my favorite one. of course it is in circular, or there's another like square one. And in Yunnan, which is close to Southeast Asia, Yunnan is famous for ham and also flour. So they have their own Yunnan style mooncakes. They have ham in it, but there are also like fresh flour in it, or mixed with egg yolk in it. Yunnan has its own mooncakes. And recently they're also popular like Haagen-Dazs mooncakes. They have ice cream in the mooncake, and the outside is the chocolate. So there are more and more different styles of mooncakes now. Okay, now let's move on. On page 6, Lin Xuemei, on the third line, Lin Xuemei said, 中秋节有点像美国的感恩节啊，感恩 means grateful, thankful. 感恩节 means Thanksgiving. So Mid-Autumn Festival is a little bit like Americans' Thanksgiving. 是 here we don't have another subject because we share the same subject as here. Because the same subject is 中秋节, so we don't want to say 中秋节 again. It's redundant. So just comma. 是一家人团圆的节日. It is a festival that all the families get together. Okay, and then we use the modifier to modify 节日, and we pay attention to word order. The modifier goes before 节日. 好，一家人团圆 means to reunite as a family. If you get together with the friends, we don't say 团圆. Only within the family members, we say 团圆. Okay, now let's move on to another festival. 林雪梅 also mentioned 还有正月15元宵节. What is 正月? 正月 here, pay attention to the tone. This character has two tones. Most of the time, it is 正, it is fourth tone, 正. However, in this context, the tone, there's another tone, which is first tone, 正月. 正月 means the first month of the lunar year. The first month of the lunar year. For example, 春节, the first day of first month, we can say 正月, which is first month, and 初一, we just learned 初, right? Don't forget 初, the early part of something. 正月初一, 正月初二, 正月初三, 正月初四, all the way. Usually we celebrate Spring Festival for 2 weeks, and the 元宵节 marks the end of the festival, which is on the 15th day of the first month. So we say 正月15. If you will see the calendar here, we will say 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 is replaced by 元宵节. 元宵节. Okay, now we introduce 元宵节. The Lantern Festival falls on the 15th day of the first month of the lunar calendar year. Its origin can be traced to the Han Dynasty, which was from 202 BCE to 220 CE. And 元宵literally it means first. 元 means first. 宵 means night. First night marks the first full moon of the lunar new year. You can see colorful lanterns are lit at night. So we can see different kinds of lanterns. Hence the holiday's name in English, a Lanterns Festival. Today, almost every Chinese city puts on extravagant displays of lanterns in parks and historic areas, attracting tens of thousands of spectators. Many streets are decorated with colorful paper lanterns, some with riddles written on them. So here is an example. You can see the lanterns. You can see the riddles here. So based on the riddle, they probably will ask you to guess one animal or one things or one characters. So you think, oh, if I know the answer, you can ask for a prize for that. But some people recently don't guess the riddles, they just appreciate the lanterns. That's also fine. Okay, at night, people go out to admire the lanterns and guess the riddles. Exuberant dragon and lion dances also add to the festive mood of the holiday season. Okay, and 元宵节, what do people eat? Eat 元宵. Okay, so we'll see. 克林 will keep talking. They say, 元宵节吃那个圆圆白白的东西。林雪梅 said, 元宵节吃元宵嘛。克林 said, 对了，我想起来了，元宵。So first, we can see 圆圆白白的东西. We can see we reduplicate adjective. Actually, we have already learned this grammar in Integrated Chinese Volume 2 in Lesson 12. When we talk about 糖醋鱼, we say, the taste is 甜甜的酸酸的糖醋鱼甜甜的酸酸的真好吃 Here we just help you review. When you reduplicate adjective, when monosyllabic adjectives are reduplicated, so 圆 means round, circle, 圆圆的，白 means white, 白白的。When they are reduplicated, the accent usually falls on the second occurrence. Here we can say 甜甜的。酸酸的，圆圆的，白白的The reduplication of adjectives often suggests an approving and appreciative attitude on the speaker's part. It's a positive. It's a positive. If you like it, you like 糖醋鱼's taste, you say 甜甜的，酸酸的。And you think 元宵 is cute, it's delicious, you like it, it's a positive attitude, you say 圆圆白白的。So that's why we reduplicate adjective. And 林雪梅 said 元宵节吃元宵嘛。So 元宵 is the food for 元宵节. We will talk about that later on the next slide. But here 嘛，吃元宵嘛。Ma is important grammar here in this lesson. Ma is a modal particle, often used in casual conversation, not in a formal presentation. A casual conversation to suggest that the reasoning behind a statement is obvious. Of course, it's so obvious and requires no further elaboration. You don't have to explain. Of course, you know it. So here, in this context, 元宵节, the name is 元宵, of course, because Colin cannot record the name of the food. And 林雪梅 say, the name itself explains the food. 吃元宵节, 吃元宵嘛, it's so obvious. That's the word, 元宵. Okay, and then we give you 3 examples here. 你不喜欢他，不想让他天天来找你。就告诉他嘛 If you don't like him and don't want him to come looking for you every day, then just tell him. It's so obvious why you are like sad or why you have concern. Just tell him. Why don't you just tell him? 就告诉他嘛 Or another example, 你说这个英文问题不难，那你翻译出来给我看看嘛You say that the English question is not difficult. Then just 翻译 means translate. Then translate it and prove it to me since you said it's not difficult. Just prove it to me. It's so obvious. Maybe it's easy for you. 给我看看嘛 Next, 我最不愿意跟数字打交道。愿意 means willing. 不愿意 means unwilling. 最 means the most unwilling things that I do is to deal with numbers. Or if we translate into English, there's nothing I dislike more than dealing with numbers. 可是妈妈非让我学金融不可 But, sorry for the typo here, but my mom insists that I study finance. 那你跟妈妈说清楚嘛 Then just tell your mom clearly. 清楚 means clearly, but ma here, if you don't like it, just tell her. 还是选自己有兴趣的专业好些，还是 blah blah 好 is that is it's better to do this. It's better to choose a major that you're interested in. Okay, here we know the meaning of ma. It is so obvious. You don't need the further elaboration and use it at the end of the sentence. And Colin said, 哦，对了，我想起来了。Here, let's quickly review. 想起来 means I remembered. Oh, I recollect, I recall, I think of that information. So here, 想起来 and 想出来 are different. 想出来 means something is not exist, but you make up something. For example, 想出来一个中文名字 When I think I made a Chinese name for you, to American students, I have to 想出来一个好的中文名字. However, 想起来 is that you already have that information in your mind, but just at that moment you cannot recall that. And then 我想不起来 but they're here 想起来了 For example, when I meet some students on campus that I have taught previously, I know the face is familiar, I know him, but I cannot recall the name. But when we talk and then gradually I can recall his name. 我想起来了，你是王鹏吧 I can recall it. So 想起来。And actually, we also learned 起来 in this lesson. 住起来很舒服 but they are different. The previous one, 住起来很舒服 we give a comment after that. 住起来很舒服，我吃起来很香，闻起来很香，我做起来很容易。But here, after 想起来 we doesn't give a comment. We just say, I think of it. I recall that information. I recall your name. 我想起来了。Next, we talk about 元宵. Yuan xiao looks like this. The most typical 元宵 is in the middle, the black sesame filling. Or we can have the peanut filling, or on the right, and also red bean paste filling on the left. These are the three typical 元宵. 元宵 is very sweet. If you like the sweet stuff, you can also eat it every day. But actually, it is more used during the festivals. Some region, eat 饺子 on Spring Festival, especially in northern China. And in southern China, some region eat 年糕 rice cake, because 糕 means high. They want to have a good meaning for that. But I also heard some region eat 元宵 on Spring Festival. So you can see there are different local culture. But 元宵is also a typical food for Lantern Festival, which is on the 15th day of the first month in lunar calendar year. Okay, now here we have a quick summary of Chinese festivals. Here we have some 节日 春节 Spring Festival, 元宵节 Lantern Festival, 龙舟节 Dragon Festival, 中秋节 Mid-Autumn Festival. And the dates 日期，春节是农历正月初一 the first day of first month in the lunar calendar year or Chinese calendar year. 元宵节是农历正月15，龙舟节是农历5月初五 the 5th day of the 5th month. 中秋节是农历8月15。And the food 食物或吃的东西。春节北方人吃饺子，有的南方人吃年糕 rice cake，也有的南方人吃元宵。但是春节的前一天除夕大家都要吃年夜饭。年夜饭有鸡有鸭有鱼有各种各样的菜，但是鱼是必须的是the must 鱼。元宵节我们吃元宵，龙舟节我们吃粽子，中秋节我们吃月饼So here is a summary of Chinese festival, and get ready for the quiz for this information of the Chinese festival. 好，我们今天就说到这里，谢谢大家。